I did. It was so fun. Oh my God, as a huge Disney fan, it was so exciting to finally get to go to D23.
Yeah.
Body temperature, and if it takes too long to serve it, it's no longer body temperature.
The entertainment world is ablaze with one of its most intense controversies, and all eyes are on Disney's remake of Snow White. What seemed like a straightforward live-action reboot has erupted into a massive firestorm, shaking the foundations of Hollywood. For Disney, the stakes are sky high, as a cherished fairy tale has unexpectedly become the epicenter of a global cultural clash, leaving audiences deeply divided. The controversy erupted when Rachel Zegler, cast as the iconic Snow White, made headlines during interviews about her role in the upcoming remake. What should have been routine press events quickly spiraled into viral sensations, forcing Disney into damage control mode. In one particularly incendiary interview, Zegler shocked fans by saying, "It's really not about the love story at all," hinting that the prince's scenes might not even make the cut. Her offhand remark, "All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows? It's Hollywood, baby," struck a nerve, sparking backlash that left both Zegler and Disney in hot water. But this was only the beginning. As more of her interviews came to light, a troubling pattern began to take shape, leaving devoted Disney fans increasingly uneasy. Zegler's take on the character seemed at odds with the cherished portrayal of Snow White that audiences have loved for generations. In several appearances, she openly criticized the original story, implying that it required a complete overhaul to align with modern sensibilities. On their own, these comments might have been brushed aside, but paired with leaked reports of drastic changes to the story, they ignited a full-blown firestorm. The controversy reached new heights when South Park entered the fray.
She's my best friend, and she's the one who sent me the casting notice and said, "Thank me when you're famous." It's the craziest thing ever that it came true in that weird way, and that's why I bring her everywhere, and she's the best ever. But yeah, I put myself on tape. It's the worst tape you've ever seen in your life. I have no idea how I got the part still. And it's being used to teach future casting directors at NYU.
Never one to shy away from cultural hot topics, the satirical series didn't just address the debate, it tackled it head-on with an episode provocatively titled Into the Pan. The brilliance of the episode lay in its straightforward satire. Using South Park's iconic characters, the show cleverly parodied Disney's recent casting and creative choices, delivering a scathing critique of Hollywood's approach to reimagining beloved classics. The fallout was immediate. Behind the scenes, Disney executives were reportedly scrambling, holding urgent meetings to manage the escalating backlash. The episode didn't just resonate with viewers, it hit a nerve deep within the entertainment industry itself. What made the situation even harder for Disney was South Park's ability to give voice to fan frustrations that had been bubbling under the surface. The controversy only intensified as fans began focusing on the sweeping changes being made to the Snow White story. The Seven Dwarfs, a cornerstone of the original tale, were being completely revamped. The prince, an essential part of the classic narrative, seemed poised to be written out altogether. Even the central romance, an element that had touched generations, was being drastically redefined. These changes weren't just minor updates, they were a total reinvention that stripped away much of what made Snow White iconic. Industry insiders, many speaking anonymously, began voicing concerns about the larger implications of Disney's strategy.
The board was making a decision to make a change at the CEO level at Disney, and that they might ask me to step back.
And you say to her?
And I said to Willow, "I'm getting this call. It's possible that I could get asked back."
One seasoned producer remarked, "With cherished properties like Snow White, there's a delicate balance between modernizing for today's audiences and losing the essence of what made the original timeless." This perspective resonated across Hollywood, sparking widespread debate over whether Disney had finally pushed its reimaginings too far. The backlash reached a boiling point as social media users pieced together clips from Zegler's interviews, painting a picture of an actress who, to many fans, seemed dismissive of the beloved story she was meant to bring to life. In one especially controversial comment, Zegler implied that the original Snow White tale wasn't worth preserving in its traditional form. For fans, this sentiment felt out of touch, especially coming from someone tasked with representing one of Disney's most iconic characters. The difference between Zegler's approach and that of past Disney princess actresses was striking. Stars like Emma Watson and Lily James had skillfully balanced modernizing their characters with a clear respect for the original stories. actors. In contrast, Zegler's remarks came across as dismissive of the source material's worth. Fans quickly picked up on this, sharing side-by-side comparison videos that underscored the stark disparity in how these actresses approached their iconic roles. Matt Stone and Trey Parker didn't limit their critique to a single episode. They expanded their satirical lens to take on Hollywood's broader approach to representation and storytelling. The South Park creators showcased a sharp understanding of why Disney's recent choices were sparking such heated debate.
She was like, Jacqueline, if they play Getaway Car or Maroon, she's on crisis watch. Not only did she play Getaway Car, she also played Maroon. I was having a mental breakdown in the audience at MetLife Stadium.
Instead of sticking to superficial jabs, the show dug into the deeper issues, exploring how these changes disrupted the core of storytelling and weakened the emotional connection between audiences and the characters they once loved. The episode Into the Pand quickly earned its place as a classic, not just for its sharp humor, but for its skill in breaking down complex critiques into something viewers could easily grasp. By reimagining familiar South Park characters as gender-swapped and race-swapped versions of themselves, the show hilariously underscored the absurdity of some Hollywood trends. At the same time, it delivered a thought-provoking message about the difference between authentic representation and superficial tokenism. South Park's critique sent shockwaves through Hollywood, with consequences few had foreseen. Rumors emerged that Disney executives were quietly reaching out to Comedy Central, desperate to prevent further episodes that could tarnish their brand. These rumored efforts only stoked the controversy, igniting heated discussions on social media about corporate power versus creative freedom. One industry insider put it bluntly, Disney has never been this exposed to criticism, and South Park knew precisely where to strike. The controversy escalated further when leaked production details started spreading online. It became clear that the changes to Snow White weren't just cosmetic. They amounted to a complete overhaul that left fans wondering if it could even be called Snow White anymore. Key elements that had defined the story for generations were being discarded, replaced by what critics described as modern messaging that felt disconnected from the heart and essence of the original tale.
Is not designed right now to necessarily develop great leaders or to encourage more people to seek public office. It just is far more difficult. Now, I've never been in it, but from what I observe, it's far more difficult to run for office today than ever before.
Rachel Zegler's ongoing media appearances only poured fuel on the fire. In a move that surprised many, she doubled down on her earlier remarks, calling the classic story outdated. "We're not doing the fairy tale that everyone thinks they know," she said in one interview. "This is something completely different." While some applauded her candidness, others saw her comments as proof of a growing rift between Hollywood and its audience. Social media buzzed with comparisons to other actresses who had tackled iconic roles, showcasing how much more carefully they seemed to honor the legacy of beloved characters. The conversation grew even more layered as industry analysts weighed in, exploring what the controversy signaled for Disney's trajectory. The Snow White debacle wasn't an isolated incident. It reflected a broader trend emerging across multiple Disney projects, raising questions about the company's creative direction and its connection with audiences. An entertainment journalist observed, "The Snow White controversy is just the beginning. It's prompting a broader reckoning with Disney's entire strategy for handling their classic properties." Behind the scenes, insiders reported that Disney had begun conducting emergency focus groups to assess public reaction to the changes. The findings were reportedly troubling enough to trigger high-level discussions about the future of their live-action remakes. One anonymous executive confessed, "There's a growing sense that we may have misunderstood what audiences really want from these reimaginings."
What was it like seeing yourself for the first time in full Snow White drag?
I love that description. It's perfect. Oh my God. Well, when you get to wear Sandy Powell, first of all, insane. And then you get to be lit by Mandy Walker.
The controversy deepened when reports surfaced about the production's take on the Seven Dwarfs. Rather than featuring the iconic characters from the original, the remake would introduce magical creatures from diverse backgrounds. This decision ignited fierce debates about representation and authenticity in storytelling. While some praised the change as a progressive update, others criticized criticized it as an unnecessary revision that further eroded the essence of the classic tale. South Park's critique went beyond Snow White, zeroing in on Hollywood's broader trend of reworking classic stories. Using their signature satire, the show highlighted how many of these changes appeared more concerned with meeting quotas than crafting engaging narratives. The episode struck a chord with viewers, becoming a rallying cry for those who felt Hollywood had strayed too far in its efforts to modernize cherished tales. The Snow White controversy began casting a shadow over other Disney projects. Reports emerged that several upcoming films were undergoing reevaluation in response to the backlash. Insiders revealed that scripts were being revised and marketing plans were being reworked to avoid similar pitfalls. The fallout was proving to be far-reaching, impacting more than just one movie and raising questions about the studio's entire creative strategy. What made the situation especially compelling was how it revealed deeper rifts within Hollywood itself. While some industry voices stood by Disney's creative choices, others began to express unease. Veteran filmmakers, often speaking off the record, voiced concerns about the industry's trajectory. There's a fine line between modernizing a story and dismantling the very elements that made it resonate in the first place, one remarked, highlighting the growing tension over balancing innovation with tradition. The financial stakes were impossible to overlook. Analysts observed that Disney's stock price had grown increasingly reactive to headlines about their creative choices. Market experts began questioning whether the studio's strategy of reimagining classics could sustain its long-term profitability. The Snow White controversy had shifted from a cultural flashpoint to a pressing business dilemma, raising serious concerns about Disney's future direction. Social media analysis uncovered intriguing trends in public reactions. While opinions about Zegler's casting were initially mixed, it was her remarks about the source material that sparked the real backlash. Fan communities that had once shown support began voicing doubts about the project's direction. One viral tweet encapsulated the growing discontent. "It's not about who plays Snow White, it's about whether this is even Snow White anymore." The controversy escalated further as industry veterans started comparing Snow White to other failed attempts at modernizing beloved classics. "There's a graveyard of reimaginings that push too far," remarked one former studio executive. "When you strip away the essence that made the original resonate with audiences, you're not modernizing. You're just slapping a familiar name on an entirely different story." South Park sharpened its critique by targeting Disney's corporate decision-making process. The show portrayed executives in a frantic scramble to cater to every demographic, often at the expense of solid storytelling. This biting satire struck a chord with audiences, many of whom felt that Disney's recent remakes had prioritized messaging over the fundamentals of crafting a compelling narrative. Behind the scenes, the pressure was intensifying. Insiders revealed that troubling test screening results had sparked conversations about the need for potential reshoots. There's a clear disconnect between Disney's vision for this project and how audiences are reacting to it, one source explained. "The big question is whether it's too late to make meaningful changes." The situation grew more complicated as reports surfaced of internal conflicts during production. Creative disagreements had reportedly erupted over the extent of the modernization, with some advocating for preserving more of the original story, while others pushed for a full reinvention. These behind-the-scenes tensions now seem to be reflected in the public's polarized response to the project. Industry analysts started scrutinizing the wider impact on Disney's live-action remake strategy, and the data painted a revealing picture. Early successes like Beauty and the Beast and The Jungle Book had thrived by striking a careful balance between nostalgia and modern updates. However, recent projects that took bolder departures from the originals were seeing diminishing returns. Snow White was quickly emerging as a critical litmus test for the viability of Disney's approach to reimagining their classics. What set the South Park episode apart was its ability to critique Disney's creative choices without relying solely on mockery. By applying the logic of Disney's remakes to their own characters, the show created a satirical mirror that exposed the entertainment industry's current approach to updating classics. The result was both laugh-out-loud funny and strikingly on point, leaving audiences amused yet uneasy about the truths it revealed. The controversy deepened as comparisons emerged between Zegler's approach and how other actresses had handled similar roles. Viral video compilations highlighted stark differences in tone and respect for the source material. While past Disney princesses had successfully championed modern updates while honoring the originals, Zegler's remarks came across as dismissive of the classic story's significance, fueling further criticism from fans. Focus groups provided revealing insights into audience reactions. While participants were largely receptive to modernizing classic stories, they expressed clear resistance to drastic changes in character motivations and core plotlines. "People want these stories to feel updated and relevant," explained one market researcher, but they don't want them altered to the point where they're unrecognizable. The financial fallout from the Snow White controversy began rippling beyond the project itself. Disney stock analysts started assessing how the backlash might affect upcoming remakes and adaptations, prompting questions about whether the studio's entire strategy for reimagining its classics needed an overhaul. What had started as a creative debate had grown into a pressing business concern with significant implications for Disney's future. The Snow White controversy has transcended the realm of a typical Hollywood scandal, evolving into a pivotal moment for the entertainment industry, as South Park delivers its incisive satire and Disney faces escalating backlash. One question looms large: how can a beloved classic be modernized without sacrificing the very essence that made it timeless? The next few months will be pivotal for Disney. With the release of the Snow White remake fast approaching, the spotlight is on how audiences will react. Will Rachel Zegler's fresh take on the iconic character resonate with viewers? Or will this project serve as a cautionary tale about the perils of reimagining beloved classics? One thing is undeniable: the era of straightforward remakes is behind us. As Hollywood struggles to balance tradition with innovation, the Snow White controversy may serve as the wake-up call the industry desperately needs. What began as a simple fairy tale reboot has transformed into a watershed moment, one that could redefine how studios handle cherished classics for years to come. For now, all eyes remain on this unfolding drama, with South Park continuing to push the envelope and Disney working overtime to contain the fallout. This story is far from finding its happily ever after. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss any updates on this Hollywood roller coaster. And we want to hear from you. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Are these changes to Snow White a step too far? Or is this the bold reimagining the story needs? Let us know what you think.